CNN, 9th of December 2022. Saudi Arabia and China will cooperate on oil and security concerns, but they will refrain from interfering in each other's domestic affairs. Since the United States has its fuel security, Saudi Arabia is seeking alternatives as it approaches peak oil and lacks interest in maintaining its alliance with Saudi Arabia. In a joint statement released on Friday, China and Saudi Arabia said their policies were in line in several sectors, including security and energy, and they would support one another without meddling in one another's internal affairs. The accord comes while Chinese President Xi Jinping is in the kingdom and as relations between the United States and both nations are already strained due to disagreements over human rights violations, oil production, and other matters. The roughly 4,000-word joint statement, released by the official Saudi press agency, SPA, declared agreement on several complex international issues, such as energy, security, Iran's nuclear program, the crisis in Yemen, and Russia's conflict with Ukraine. Beijing and Riyadh both wanted to emphasize the importance of stability in the world oil markets, pointing out that Saudi Arabia is a dependable supplier of crude oil to their joint partner in China. Additionally, they indicated a desire to expand cooperation and coordination in defense domains and to keep working together to combat terrorism and its financing. The nations pledged to continue firmly supporting each other's core interests, support each other in maintaining their sovereignty and territorial integrity, and exert joint efforts to defend the principle of non-interference in states' internal affairs, rules of international law, and basic principles of international relations, according to the statement. This would entail refraining from disparaging one another's internal policies, most likely including those about domestic law and human rights. Without providing additional information, China also reaffirmed its resistance to any activities that would intervene in the internal affairs of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Both nations have received harsh criticism for their treatment of human rights. Washington has previously taken action against what it saw as numerous abuses and violations of human rights committed by both China and Saudi Arabia. The State Department estimates that since 2017, up to 2 million Uyghurs and members of other ethnic groups have been imprisoned in a shadowy network of internment camps where they are reportedly subjected to torture, cruel and inhumane treatment such as physical and sexual abuse, forced labor, and death. In June, the U.S. banned all goods produced in China's Western Islamic Xinjiang region. Despite evidence to the contrary, Chinese officials have continuously refuted any claims of human rights violations in Xinjiang. And in 2021, a U.S. intelligence report said that Mohammed bin Salman, also known as MBS, the de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, had a direct hand in the operation that resulted in the killing and dismemberment of Jamal Khashoggi, a journalist for The Washington Post. MBS refuted the charges. Xi arrived in Riyadh, the capital of oil-rich Saudi Arabia, on Wednesday to begin a multi-day visit to the country. On Thursday, MBS and other Saudi authorities lavishly welcomed Xi. The Chinese president's flight was accompanied by Saudi military jets, and when he arrived, a purple carpet was laid out, and cannons were fired. According to Saudi state TV, Xi invited Saudi King Salman bin Abdulaziz Al Saud to travel to China on Friday. According to SPA, a Saudi-Chinese summit, a China-Arab, and a China Gulf Cooperation Council (GCC) summit are among the events that Xi will attend during his visit. According to SPA, without going into specifics, China and Saudi Arabia signed a comprehensive strategic partnership agreement on Thursday that includes several deals and memorandums of understanding, including ones on direct investment, hydrogen energy, and coordinating the kingdom's Vision 2030 with China's Belt and Road Initiative. The chilly atmosphere surrounding U.S. President Joe Biden's visit to the country earlier in the year stood in stark contrast to Xi's cordial reception. In October, after the Saudi-led oil cartel OPEC Plus cut oil production, Biden, who had pledged to make Saudi Arabia a pariah following the death of Khashoggi, said the U.S. needed to rethink its relationship with the country. Biden is unaware that Saudi Arabia is running out of oil and needs to keep prices steady to maintain its economic viability. Washington and Beijing have also been at war over Taiwan, a democratically run island with a population of 24 million that Beijing claims is its own despite having never had control of it, and China's growing sway in the Middle East. Washington responded by saying Xi was not shocked by Xi's trip to Riyadh and was mindful of the influence that China is trying to develop across the world. Saudi Arabia has been working to diversify its relationships in recent years, especially in light of increased U.S. criticism of the country's policies and what Gulf monarchs perceive as diminishing U.S. security presence in the region. Amina Becker, the chief OPEC correspondent at Energy Intelligence, stated on Twitter, "China is a strong partner to have and far less critical compared to other Western powers at a time when Saudi Arabia is looking to progress its economic diversification goals." According to Saudi author and commentator Ali Shahabi, there has been annoyance because U.S. politicians keep characterizing the kingdom regarding the Khashoggi murder, the Yemen war, and human rights. With all of its resources, even the U.S. spent 2 decades, trillions of dollars, and valuable human lives trying to transform Iraq and Afghanistan, only to fail, he said. Shahabi said that Saudi Arabia is pursuing a multipolar policy with strong strategic ties. China appears to be a solid backup option, and the Saudis are encouraged by its pledge to station an aircraft carrier fleet in Djibouti to defend the Red Sea. He claimed that it coordinates with China, India, and Russia on energy and sells weaponry to the UK and France in place of the US while keeping a hopefully strong but ineluctably rocky relationship with its old buddy, the US.